I am Simona Iammarino, a professor at the University of Cagliari and a visiting professor at the LSE. And today I would like to say thank you to Sally Hardy. When I think about Sally, I think about three main concepts and words: inspiration, support, and friendship. I've known Sally for a long time. I've been a member of the RSA for now 21, 22 years. And Sally has been a real inspiration for her amazing career, 37 years building a community basically almost from scratch, looking after people, having competences in legal, academic, scientific, and relational matters. So a woman with a career completely, let's say, 360 degrees in terms of capabilities at all level and skills. So this is actually something. Being a CEO is still difficult for women nowadays. And if we think about 37 years ago, we can actually really understand the contribution and the vibe that Sally has brought to her job and to all of us around her. The second word is support, because Sally makes people do things with pleasure. And I found myself in many different situations where I have accepted to play roles and tasks just because she asked so nicely and kindly, but she's always been there. She's always been there in case of, you know, emergency, or just supporting and helping in things that one wasn't familiar. Just an example, when I became chair of the journal committee of the RSA, I mean, it's a complicated domain, is a field publishing really very much in transformation. Sally was always there. Sally was always there during the meeting, outside the meeting, on WhatsApp, on email, on the phone, in person. And this I've seen doing with everybody. It doesn't matter if you are an early career, if you are located in remote parts of the planet, if you are a collaborator of every day, Sally is always there for everybody. And finally, friendship, because Sally has been able also to establish deep personal relationship. We have shared personal aspects of life, both very cheerful and sometimes not, because life is not always cheerful and easy. But this added to the value, of the relationship, and I saw this happening with me and many other people. So I wanted just to say thank you, Sally. You've been great. You've been a role model for all of us. And I'm sure we will be in touch for the rest of our lives. I'll wait for you in beautiful Sardinia. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Andrew Beer, and I was fortunate enough to be the chair of the Regional Studies Association for 5 years, and I was on the board for a longer period than that. What to say about Sally Hardy? Well, it's really a question of what not to say. She has so many fine attributes and so many quirks. I'm just going to focus on two of those tonight. One is her very competitive nature, and the second is her inability to understand Australian fauna. So on the first one, I was lucky enough to have Sally come and visit me in Adelaide. And on one of those occasions, she flew out to Adelaide on a flight that takes about 24 hours minimum. She arrived 9 o'clock at night, and I took her to accommodation. I told her that I'd be getting up very early the next morning to walk up Mount Lofty, which is quite a steep 45-minute climb, maybe 400 metres. Being the competitive person that Sally is, she had to come too, because she didn't want to miss out on the fun and she wanted to show that she was up for it. When we did the walk, she raced me to the top. And even though I'd been practicing for a long time, she was just a bee's knees away from beating me. And of course, when she got to the top, she complained that the view I'd promised her didn't materialise because there was cloud, not bright sunshine. And she complained about it for the next 3 days. Such is life. The other thing I want to talk about is her inability to understand Australian fauna. On another trip, we went for a walk in the Adelaide Hills again. And this time we got out of the car and did just 20 steps before a koala climbed down rather energetically from a tree and crawled towards her. Now, koalas are the cutest looking things on earth, but they have claws much larger than their bodies and they're razor sharp, a full inch of very sharp claws. And this thing looked like it wanted to climb up Sally. She looks a bit like a tree, doesn't she? Anyway, I backed away. I knew how to preserve my life. But Sally just stood there, encouraging the thing on. But unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, the koala shifted its attention at the last moment and went to another tree. But on another occasion, we were also walking, this time in the Flinders Ranges. And I saw an echidna and I said, run. And Sally ran away while I ran to her. She didn't understand that an echidna, despite having prickles, is the most harmless creature on earth. Such is Sally's failings, but she has very few of them. Thank you.
Good morning. Greetings from Buffalo. In the spring of 2019, I was teaching in Singapore when Sally asked if we could meet and chat as she was flying into Singapore. Over coffee, I learned that Sally had spent part of her life in Singapore, and she even loves the crummy, humid weather. If you know Sally, she is a highly focused individual, and very soon, I learned that she had zoomed in on me as a potential chair of RSA. I think she must have spiked my coffee because I agreed. But really, Sally is a charismatic, persuasive colleague and friend who gets things done once she has made up her mind. Often, she's right on issues, and I learned over the 2 years as chair to trust her intuition and judgment. Of course, I did not know what I was walking into. Soon after I assumed the chairship, we found ourselves in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. We were in uncharted waters. No in-person meetings, conferences shelved, and everyone seemed to be retreating into their corner. As a geographer, I know a lot about space, but we had not until then encountered a situation where physical relationality was impossible. Sally and her team quickly transformed a disadvantage into an advantage by harnessing the power of digital and virtual relationality. It was a period of learning, using technology as never before. Let me reveal a little about the behind-the-scene activities before our board meetings. Sally would take the time to go over the notes and potential complex discussions with me on Zoom. WhatsApp became my favorite messenger device, and boy, did Sally milk that device. As you all know, WhatsApp never sleeps. But those WhatsApp exchanges were necessary because Sally had a consultative style and decisions were rarely top-down. Just as when we thought the worst was behind us, the Russia-Ukraine war began. The first half of 2022, in my view, was even harder than the pandemic. It was difficult to come up with a policy of response, which is not surprising because of multiple stakeholders. Yet we did, perhaps not to the liking of every stakeholder and RSA member, but it was one that saw long hours of debate, arguments, and finally consensus. It forced us to think about the organization's mission. Sally never wavered in her commitment to the community. And she was determined that she would retire only if RSA's community is growing, engaged, and the organization in a tip-top shape operationally and financially. Indeed, one of the first things Sally had said to me when I was decided about being chair was, "You won't be doing this alone. I will be there, and you will have the support of a great staff." Then she added, "We are also in a good financial position," which I found out later was due to astute and careful financial planning. Let me end by saying that I value my years as chair of RSA because it gave me the opportunity to work with a fabulous community such as you. But it was made all the more memorable because I had the support of Sally. Thank you, Sally, and best wishes in your journey ahead.
Thanks for this opportunity to say a few words. I'm really sorry I can't be there in person with you. It would have been a lot of fun. Sally and I go back a long way, actually. She took over at the Regional Studies Association, I think shortly after I joined myself as a member. At that time, it was a small, friendly organization, I think restricted to the UK. Since then, of course, it's been completely transformed. And Sally's been pivotal to this transformation of the RSA. I hugely admire many of Sally's qualities, but I've just got time to draw attention to three standout attributes that I think represent a really unusual combination of personal qualities that Sally possesses and has enabled her to achieve this tremendous success. First, she has shown tremendous vision and leadership to grow and develop the RSA in terms of its size and its scope, including its global reach, the membership, the journals, the conferences. It's a really marvelous achievement on the part of Sally. Secondly, she's been very hands-on in managing this process with due care and attention. It's really required huge energy and attention to detail. You can imagine juggling all those balls in the air to keep the boat in motion. And her personal involvement must have required a considerable dedication and determination. Now, thirdly, Sally's also achieved this by taking people along with her in a collective and collaborative way, by building strong personal relationships and friendships with many, many people. Of course, that's not easy. Leading academics is like herding cats. So Sally has had to show tremendous personal qualities of diplomacy, sometimes staying in the foreground, sometimes moving in the background and operating behind the scenes to achieve this tremendous success. I've got personal experience of this. About 10 years ago, Sally, I had many phone calls from Sally trying to persuade me to take over as editor-in-chief of the Regional Studies Journal. She flattered me enormously by saying that the board was unanimous in its support and that it would be largely a figurehead role. Of course, it turned out differently, and it turned out to be quite a lot of work. When she eventually persuaded me, it was a lot of work, but I have no regrets. It was also very, very rewarding. And the personal interactions with Sally were very enjoyable. So Sally, looking to the future, I wish you a very enjoyable semi-retirement. I hope you find more time for your passion for cycling. I can see from Strava that you've got some miles that you need to put in to keep up with your team. So thanks for the opportunity, and I wish you a very successful and enjoyable event.
So I'm Louis Dijkstra, and I want to wish Sally Hardy a fantastic, if not fabulous, early retirement, underline early. I'm already envious of the epic bike ride she will take into whatever horizon strikes her fancy. And she is an inspiration to me as I wish to know very similar things in my retirement, ride the bike to all the horizons I could. And I want to thank her for everything she's done for RSA. She's brought not just professionalism, but also humor and charm and a touch of class to the association. I always enjoyed seeing you, Sally, and I'm particularly fond of our time together in Cagliari, where thanks to the RSA summer, school, I got to enjoy a lovely time in Italy. So all the best. I hope our paths may cross again in the future, preferably both on an excellent titanium bike. All the best. Bye.
My name is Mia Gray. I'm at Cambridge University and I'm a member of the board of the RSA. I have just 3 words to say about Sally Hardy. The first word is catalyst. Sally is a catalyst, both a driver of organizational growth herself, and most importantly, an enabler of others. She has left the RSA a bigger, bolder, better, and more beautiful organization than she found it. And what a tribute that is. Seriously, many people watching this video will recognize how Sally has slowly and steadily built up the capacity and the organizational abilities of the RSA, increasing the scale and the scope of what we do. She is a catalyst. From 1 journal to 6, from 2 book series, a blog, an e-zine, globalizing the RSA, our territorial networks around the world, the European office, the embrace of scholars from all over have become such important parts of what the RSA is and what we do. The second word I would use for Sally is inclusive. Sally made and continues to make institutional spaces for new voices. She has nurtured younger scholars and found new ways to involve them in the organization. She's made sure there are ways for scholars from around the world to be part of what was traditionally a very UK-based organization. She has monitored the organization to ensure gender representation and regional balance in all different functions. In this way, I think Sally has made space for new voices to embody the RSA. The third word I would use to describe Sally is fun. Sally is fun. I've seen Sally's warmth and sense of fun throughout, good times and the toughest of times, during the uncertainties of Brexit, during the pandemic, when we were all having to go online. Sally and her team and her board work hard. And Sally knows, though, that fun and team building and warmth are the counterbalance to hard work. She knows one is necessary for the other. And many of you listening to this will recognize and celebrate this trait in Sally. And I think this sets the tone for the entire organization. I can't tell you how many younger scholars I've talked to who mention the warmth, the welcome they feel at the RSA. And that doesn't happen by chance. That is by design. That is Sally herself and the tone she sets. So I want to thank Sally for embodying these traits as a catalyst, with hard work, but always with an eye to inclusivity and with a sense of fun. It's a lovely combination. It's a combination which encourages and enables all of us to find our own place within the RSA. So thank you, Sally.
Okay, well, a remarkable feat, I suppose, reaching 30 years of being chief executive of the RSA. But this is just me saying thank you, Sally, from the bottom of my heart for everything that you've done for the association over that time. You are one of the nicest, the warmest, most generous professional people that I've met, and a fantastic chief executive, supreme leader, excellent. I'm sorry, I've always had trouble trying to decipher Sally's handwriting. I first joined the RSA 30 years ago, and it's remarkable about how the RSA has changed in that time, but also the fact that Sally's been at the heart of it and has created this incredible learned association, which is probably the envy of many other learned bodies as well. Those conferences 30 years ago were very different affairs to the sorts of conferences that we see today. They were riotous events and came as quite a shock, I think, for us academics starting out in our career. The wild parties, the late nights, the drinking, the drugs, the fast cars. Sally was into all of it, of course. The rest of us used to just go to church. But to be serious for a moment, if you think about the role of the chief executive, and we see Sally and the chief exec at events, we are grateful for the sterling service that she's performed in securing the finances of the association at a time when other learned bodies are perhaps a little vulnerable. But what you don't see is the work behind the scenes in how the chief exec manages the offices or cares about the welfare of staff, of ensuring the members are happy, and the negotiations that go on behind the scenes with publishers, with editors, with other learned societies, with governments, with the commission, and so on. It is quite a tough job. And the fact that Sally has lasted this long and achieved so much and raised the profile of the association is testament to her skills and her abilities, not least in how you manage an RSA board. And given that it's comprised mainly of academics, that's no mean feat in itself. But as I speak to you from Shady Pines, the regional studies home for retired board members, I would just like to say sincerely, thank you, Sally, for everything that you have done and for the association that you've created. I need to go off now because I'm playing drafts.
I'm sorry I can't be there in person, but I wanted to send a few words about Sally. Sally and I have worked together for more than 10 years on the journal that our two associations manage together, which is Spatial Economic Analysis. In that time, we have managed two very successful transitions to new editors-in-chief. We managed the upheaval of COVID, and we have worked very hard together on making the journal more diverse and inclusive. One of our proudest moments, or my proudest memories, was when we published a special issue to mark International Women's Day in 2021, where we featured every single paper published by a female author or a all-female academic team in the journal since the start of the journal, its creation. And the special issue was not just very well received by the readership and by our two communities, but even more touchingly, we received many lovely emails from the authors thanking us for highlighting their work and remembering their work sometimes many years after the papers were published. Whenever I was due to meet with Sally, I knew it was going to be an interesting and memorable occasion. Sally has a wicked sense of humor, and I felt she had a great deal of appreciation for the complexities of running a scholarly society. And in particular, a lot of understanding of the constraints that I, as chair of an association, had to operate in, which I very much appreciated. On a more personal level, my favorite meetings with Sally were those in the British Library Cafe, a very grand meeting place, halfway between our two respective offices, and we'd always meet over coffee and a large slice of cake. So I wish Sally all the best in whatever she turns her hand to next, which I'm sure she'd do brilliantly, and hopefully also some downtime, time to focus on her hobbies. And I look forward to seeing her maybe in a more informal capacity in the future. All the best, Sally.
Hi guys, hi Sally. I'm Henrik Halkier of Aalborg University, Denmark, and I've worked with Sally, had the pleasure of working with Sally since the 1990s, where I was part of the RSA board. And like everyone else, of course, I've been impressed by Sally's hard work and good cheer, and especially impressed by her constant aim of trying to be ahead of the game, at least one step ahead of the game, compared to other learned societies, compared to in terms of publishing journals and books, in terms of conference organizations, organizing networks for members, etc. You name it, and Sally has somehow managed to push the agenda forward to the great benefit of the association and its members. But perhaps I think an overlooked fact is that it's not just about hard work, it's not just about good cheer, but it's also something about what Sally does and how she operates. And I think a key characteristic of Sally's is that she has the ability to be cool, calm, and collected, even in very unexpected circumstances. The first time this struck me was when I was a young researcher participating in my very first RSA conference in 1991 in Halkier in Greece, and it was a lovely setting. There were good workshops, good discussions, there were football on the beach, a really good crowd, community feeling, just like the RSA is, and a barbecue at night by the swimming pool. And then suddenly it happened. In the dark summer night in Greece, Sally was suddenly dancing on a rickety table by the pool with flames not just below the table, but actually flames coming up along the legs of the table. And what did Sally do? But of course, she danced on. And so being able to be cool, calm, and collected in unsuspected circumstances is, I think, really a key dimension to her successful leadership within the association. And I believe this ability will continue to serve her really well also in her post-work life. I'm sure you'll have a great time, Sally. I'm wishing you all the best. And should you ever embark on a Baltic bike ride, knock on my door, and I'm sure we'll have some good time back in the village of Vorst as well. Thank you very much.
Well, hello, Sally. This is the moment where we say farewell to you. I'm really, really feeling a bit awkward about having to do this. But I think I really also felt that I really need to take the opportunity to do it and to say thank you for all the great things that you have done. I've said to you personally in what way you really, really mattered to my own career as a researcher. But I think in many similar ways, you also matter to so many of us, and the empowering effect that you had on so many of us, and especially the female researchers amongst us. I think that is absolutely priceless. It's such a great contribution of yours, and you will be absolutely sorely missed. I personally will really, really miss your big hugs. So I very much hope that Alan can also do big hugs, but I'm sure they won't be as good as yours. So thank you so much, Sally, for everything that you have done, and farewell. And I'm sure you will enjoy your time greatly, but we will also miss you sorely, sorely, sorely. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hi, Sally. I'm sorry I cannot be there with you for your farewell presentation and drinks. I have been very busy promoting the petition to postpone your retirement that I mentioned to you a few weeks ago during the EU Regions Week in Brussels. I hope that the petition will be successful. But in any case, I would like to take this opportunity to say that I feel ever so privileged to have met you and having worked with you. I remember very fondly meeting you about 20 years ago when I was the secretary of the British and Irish section of the Regional Science Association. And at that time, I think he was the legendary Mike Danson chair of the Regional Studies Association. And it has been absolutely amazing to liaise and work with you and your team and work together on various activities and efforts to raise the profile of regional research and both regional studies and regional science. And more recently, it has been absolutely fantastic to work again with you on the EU Regions Week university sessions. Hopefully the petition to postpone your retirement will succeed, but in any case, I very much hope that we will stay in touch. Thanks ever so much for everything, and all the best.
Hi, Sally. It's Maddie Hatfield from Yellowback, wishing you a very happy retirement. It is nearly 10 years since we first met in an interview room in Bloomsbury, although I already knew of you as a spokesperson for scholarly publishing, always willing to take the stand to talk about learned societies, publishing and open access at a time of really big change for the industry. It wasn't until much later that I also learned you were an avid cyclist, and in fact the best preparation I'd made for that interview was in hurriedly stowing my presentation handout in a Rafa branded cycling bag, thereby also declaring myself fellow cyclist. It's really been a pleasure to work with you at the head of a dynamic and diverse organisation like the RSA. And I've watched you turn numerous challenges into opportunities. You've identified new journals to support the RSA's community and then galvanised those around you to make sure that they were a success. You also showed great proactive resilience in the face of COVID-19 when everyone else was still trying to work out how to lead their teams from home, and you launched a professional webinar series that brought together hundreds, thousands of people around the world, expanding rather than contracting your reach at a time where it felt like everything was getting smaller. It's been a pleasure to work with you and to learn from your example as a female leader. So you will be very much missed, but I really hope that you enjoy lots of great new adventures in this next chapter. Keep in touch, take care, and have fun.
Hi, it's my enormous honor to provide this farewell message for Sally. I've known her in person for easily over 17 years since her invitation for me to deliver the first plenary lecture at this very winter conference in 2006. Of course, I had by then already known of Sally's great role in the Regional Studies Association since my PhD days in the early 1990s. Between 2008 and 2015, we worked very closely together in the RSA Board of Trustees and had many wonderful and intensive interactions. Sally is not your ordinary leader. She's certainly one of the most dynamic and strategic thinkers you can ever imagine. Under her leadership, the RSA has grown incredibly from strength to strength, and we must really credit her for the tremendous efforts and leadership that has given us a wholesome intellectual home in our field. But Sally is also never a boring leader that characterizes so many in today's, well, boring or uncertain world. She has very diverse interests, from world-class biking to the finer things in life. I particularly want to commend her warm demeanor that always makes all of us feel welcomed. She never shouted in any of our encounters. Well, not exactly, but that's only when I was in the driver's seat in that V8. She did scream aloud. On this screaming high note, I want to bid my farewell to Sally's role as our chief executives in the RSA. Rest assured, we will miss you very much. I'm so sorry to miss this big evening event, but I will see you again in so many other ways in future. Thank you very much.
Hi, Sally. I'm sorry to miss your farewell presentation as I have to get on a plane tonight, but I'm really delighted I could say a few words in appreciation. I've not known you for as long as many others here, but through my role with FinGeo, you have certainly been a very central component of this research community that we've been building for almost 10 years now. While the support of the RSA has been clear over the years, I know that you have personally played a vital role in shaping many of the conversations and mobilizing support that has contributed to the current strength of FinGeo as a stimulating, credible, and influential research network. I remember one of the first large-scale events that was held by FinGeo in 2019, pretty much the last major event that many of us attended before the COVID lockdowns. It was the first FinGeo Global Conference held in Beijing. It mattered a great deal to the FinGeo committee and to the local organizers at Beijing Normal University that you were there at the conference to demonstrate the support and enthusiasm of the RSA for FinGeo and for regional studies and geographical research and engagements in China. I mean, maybe you were actually there for the Peking duck and the amazing historic sites, but I like to think that FinGeo had a small part in motivating that visit. Well, the most significant milestone has really benefited from your long-standing vision and support is, of course, the Finance and Space Journal. There has been conversations about this over the years, especially from our members who thought we should have an intellectual home that foregrounds financial geography and critical finance research. But many of us on the committee were quite reticent because of the challenges of the publishing landscape. We didn't think we were experienced enough to navigate all of that. We were also concerned about whether the community was really ready for such a journal in terms of getting the volume of submissions and the readership. So I think we would have sat on it for longer, if not for your vision, your astute timing, and your confidence in FinGeo to connect us to Taylor and Francis at a very opportune moment. There were many exchanges of emails and phone calls, trying to resolve tricky situations. You were always open, clear, and fair-minded about what information was forthcoming, where we might have further scope to push further, or where there could be dead ends. And all of these we appreciated in enabling the journal to get off the ground and moving forward far more quickly and smoothly than we had anticipated. On a more personal note, I really enjoyed following updates of your many travels and hobbies. During the COVID lockdowns, I took up crochet and you started on sewing. We had a little mail exchange, and I remember posting to you a couple of crochet Easter eggs, and you sent me a little project bag, a reversible one as well. And I still use it to keep bits and bobs of my crochet tools and stitch markers and all that. And that, Sally, I think is what sets you apart as a leader. You take a real personal interest in people whom you work with, and you make us feel seen and heard and understood in various ways. Thank you for all that you've done. Have a marvelous farewell party and an awesome retirement. You deserve it.
David Bailey's speech at the RSA annual conference suggested that Sally's a ball breaker. Bit harsh, but on the other hand, I had a serious accident nearly 20 years ago in which I pulled my pelvis apart in my first year as chair. In David's first year as chair, he had a hernia operation. So I think you can jump to your own conclusions. But being serious for the moment, beyond leading the RSA to be a global learned society, Sally's personal kindness is something that's not often seen in her professional capacity. She was very kind to my wife, Vanessa, and I when I was stuck in a hospital in Turkey for 2 weeks, and then 8 weeks in a London hospital, where typically Sally tried to rearrange the ward to the benefit of us all. Sally's not a formal person, but her and her RSA team have always been very welcoming and open and friendly at RSA events, particularly to new members. And as a result of it, I've developed some lifelong friendships through RSA, and I've been a member since 1995. One of Sally's future roles is to work part-time at a local pub. So I will look forward to the ex-RSA chair's Care in the Community scheme outing, where we will travel down and sample the beers that Sally pours for us. And I promise we will behave, and we will stay away from the karaoke machine. So here's to you, Sally, and thank you for everything you've done for the RSA and all of us, and to your future.
Thank you, Sally, for having been the heart and soul of the Regional Studies Association for 37 years. Thank you for being so passionate about building a warm sense of community and a successful collaborative environment, caring equally for all different members of this association. RSA has made me discover that being an academic can also be fun. Through RSA, I've built many new international friendships and received support from the most unexpected sources. This association and the environment that you have created within it has been, for a younger and more insecure me, an incentive to continue pursuing my goals in academia. So thanks, Sally, for always being on top of everything and for seeing the bigger picture. You believed in me before my actual permanent employer did, so we can safely say that it has paid off. And I have taken part in a variety of RSA activities, and Sally Hardy was almost always there with her smile. I have even swum with Sally at the very first RSA summer college in Sardinia, and I can safely say that she remained perfectly impeccable and fabulous even after a sea dip in the wavy Mediterranean Sea. So thanks, Sally, for being so dedicated to the association. You've been the brain and the moving engine of RSA so far, And thanks for always being so full of positive energy and charisma, while always remaining also human, approachable, warm, and fun. We will all miss you greatly, but I'm sure you won't be short of exciting new adventures for the next 37 years at least, including perhaps setting up a fashion atelier utilizing your new sewing skills, in which case, please offer us an RSA discount code. So thanks again, and best of luck for the future.
And how they publish open access. And I suppose really what I really learned was just how much fun Sally could make what seems to be quite a sort of dry, arcane academic subject. There was always an interesting meeting, a new person to talk to. And I think really what I took away from my time doing that was just how expansive and how much of a center of things Sally was in that network of people who made all the Regional Studies Association journals work and happen. So perhaps like an anecdote that comes to mind was a trip that I stood in for Sally because she couldn't make it, where I went to Johannesburg in South Africa. And this was sort of centered around a sort of Taylor and Francis group meeting, people there, lots of publishers, academics in Africa talking about the particular challenges of publishing in the Global South. And I just remember someone in this hotel where the event was happening. It was a sort of a fancy hotel in Johannesburg. There was a golf cart that whisked us up to a small conference venue there. Someone leaning in and just saying, "Oh, dear Sally Hardy." Yeah, and I just kind of wish that we could make our society like the RSA. It's like someone whispered in my ears that it's a £1 million organization. There's a person behind it, and it just struck me that the global reach of Sally Hardy as a person, as a network, was just truly international and something I never really expected. And I think that's probably something that I've taken away from my time working with her, is that it's possible to be someone running a learned society from perhaps not the center of the world in Brighton, but close to it, and just have this network where you're completely at home in it. I've never seen someone who just remembers the names of any PhD student or researcher that she happens to have come across on any corner of the world, and there's just kind of her at the center of it. And I think that's really testament to her skill as a leader and as a figure at the center of the society. And I think when she leaves after her many years of service, it will fundamentally change it in a way which is hard to understand. And I think that's a real testament to her work at the RSA.
Hi, Sally. Thank you for all your energy, your inspiration, and your leadership, also in challenging times. Enjoy your retirement.
And Sally, just to say, it definitely won't be the same without you, but we hope you have a wonderful adventure in retirement.
Hi, Sally. Have a fantastic, lots and lots of cycling retirement.
Hi, Sally. We started our working relationship with a Dr. Seuss poem that I read at my interview, so it seems appropriate to end our working relationship in the same way. There are two things that I've greatly admired about you: your vast intelligence and your ability to take decisive action. So this is an excerpt from that Dr. Seuss poem. Congratulations, this is your time. You're off to great places with biscuits and wine. You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. And great things will happen, and frequently do, to people as brainy and footsie as you. Oh, the places you'll go. Thank you for being such a great boss, Sally. I wish you a long, lovely, and active retirement.
Hi, Sally. I can't really beat that. So I would just like to say thanks for giving me the chance all those years back in that yoga class. It's been great working with you, and I wish you the best retirement. And yeah, hope to see you around.
Hi, Sally. Well, it's been an adventure working with you for the last 11 years. We'll certainly miss you when you're gone, but happy retirement.